Many of them have had the relationship for a very long time. They accumulate hidden fees, charges that they may not be aware of or they may not understand, and they accumulate over time and it costs them thousands of dollars a year more than they should. Our experience is up to 40% of the administrative time that goes into management. It could be accounting integration or reporting or simply generating insight about what's happening.
In 2026, managing a growing business means moving past fragmented banking setups and high transactional fees to deploy centralized enterprise-grade merchant rails that protect your margins.
Having someone go over with you, what do my customers need? What do my suppliers need? What does my staff need? What does a perfect payment solution look like? If answering those questions and then fitting the solution to those needs.
Hi everyone, this is Maheen and welcome to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. Today we are breaking down the critical architecture of merchant payment processing and working capital optimization because in 2026, managing a growing business means moving past fragmented banking setups and high transactional fees to deploy centralized enterprise-grade merchant rails that protect your margins and extend your operational cash flow. Joining us is Pat Finerty, the Head of Strategy and Partnerships at Peloton Technologies. Pat is a highly accomplished global executive with over 25 years of cross-border leadership experience spanning the Americas and Europe, a former management consultant and executive leader across global software firms. He's an expert in applied analytics, corporate growth frameworks, and artificial intelligence, even serving on academic advisory boards for Schulich and Rotman to shape their AI MBA programs. Today, he directs the partnerships and commercial pipelines for one of Canada's fastest growing payment innovators. Lots to uncover and unpack. So without a further ado, let's dive in and welcome Pat. Pat, it's an absolute pleasure having you on the show today. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm doing great. Excited to be here.
Very pleased to have you with us. Now, Pat, let's open a discussion by understanding the hidden toll of good enough payments because many small businesses out there or many small business owners out there recognize that their checkout or invoicing setup isn't completely perfect, but they treat payments as a passive administrative task as long as the transactions technically go through. Tell us, how are businesses losing money through outdated payment systems?
Well, first I'll just describe what I mean by good enough payments. Most payment solutions do the core, which means they'll take credit and debit transactions. They can take the customer's money. But it's really about a lot more than that. We want to help small businesses to understand that they should have a value proposition that optimizes the customer experience, the staff experience, and saves them maximum time and money, and gives them everything they need in their payment experience. And that framing is really what's missing from how most small businesses go about selecting their payments provider. So costs, there's some direct costs. Many pay too much from a transaction and processing fee perspective. But many of them have had the relationship for a very long time. And over time, they accumulate hidden fees, charges that they may not be aware of or they may not understand. And they accumulate over time and it costs them thousands of dollars a year more than they should.
Right. And realizing that fragmented processing fees and opaque percentage markups, they act as a silent tax on your revenue forces, and it forces you to really stop treating financial infrastructure as an afterthought. Now, Pat, let's explore overcoming the barriers to switching payment providers. Tell us, why are business owners hesitant to switch payment providers?
Well, there's a number of reasons. One is that it's the nature of small business owners. They are extremely busy running whatever their business may be, whether it's a retail operation, a small business, a professional or trades entity. it's a busy job. So one of it is inertia, that just is simply from the requirements of delivering the value to their customers every day. Another is a fear that the costs of switching and the complexity of switching is much higher than they expect. So that's another perception that is really not true. And lastly, many of them are unaware that this entire industry is governed by something called a code of conduct to ensure that there's a high degree of integrity and ethics in the relationship between the payment provider and the small business. And what that does is it protects the small business owner. So if they sign a contract with a provider that may indicate a 3-year term, many small business owners think they are locked in for those 3 years.
Right.
But one of the elements of the code of conduct, it says if any price changes at any time during the contract that's not advantageous to the customer, so the price goes up, they have a 70-day window where they can change their provider at no cost.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's 70 days. Sounds like a small window, but typically the card brands, the Visas, MasterCards, and American Express, they change their pricing at least twice per year.
Right.
So for more than 2/3 of the entire year, no matter what your contract says, a provider, if they're not satisfied, can go and establish a relationship with someone else.
No, thank you so much for really demystifying the payment switching myth for our listeners, because busting the myth of transition downtime, it allows a business owner to easily migrate their rails,
Absolutely.
instantly recovering dozens of administrative hours and thousands in monthly revenue. Next up, Pat, let's look at making enterprise-grade payment security accessible to SMEs. Tell us, how can SMEs achieve enterprise-level payment security?
Well, it's not just accessible; it's necessary. And there's no large enterprise that would ever set up a payments infrastructure that wasn't secure, that put their clients or their suppliers or their own funds at risk. And no small business should do the same. Many of them feel that that's a bar which they'll have to invest in to acquire. But the reality is, the most reputable payments providers that support small businesses, they embed full regulatory compliance and all the leading security and fraud protection in their system natively at no extra cost. So we're talking about the ability to encrypt credit card numbers if they're card on file, full PCI compliant, compliance with regulatory oversight legislation like RPAA. These are all table stakes. The small business should, receive that when they receive their payment solution without having to pay for it.
Right. This really helps us democratize, a corporate payment security and understand that offloading the massive liability of PCI compliance and transaction monitoring to a dedicated processing partner, it allows a lean small business to operate with enterprise-grade protection. So thank you for highlighting that, Pat.
One thing I'd
Sure.
like to add to that is sometimes what a small business may perceive as not relevant or onerous information gathering during the switching process or the initial application process is actually there to protect them. So there's over $600 million a year in fraud losses by small businesses through payments in Canada per year. And one of the ways you can protect the small business is taking the time to understand what their business looks like. Asking them questions like, what is a normal transaction volume? What's the exceptionally large transactions that you occasionally have to process? How frequently do they happen? These questions sometimes may be perceived by a small business as, why is that relevant? Well, it's to protect them from fraud, so that if something unusual is happening, then the payments provider can support them and protect them, and also protect their customers or their suppliers, as the case may be. So sometimes the nature of the information gathered, many people, they say, I really want an easy process that happens automatically, that has little overhead. We agree, but it's also necessary that you make sure you protect the funds. This is the lifeblood of the business.
And this helps with a lot of fear around this as well. How do we really switch payment providers with ease, especially during this day and age? To the retail merchants, B2B founders, and financial directors that are watching, in 2026, you shouldn't be paying premium enterprise prices just to keep your transactional data safe. Pat and the expert engineering team at Peloton Technologies are completely leveling the playing field for Canadian SMEs by providing a unified, jargon-free commerce platform that consolidates point of sale, e-commerce, foreign exchange, and payroll into one single dashboard. Following their major, highly disruptive nationwide merchant network expansion via Rogers Business Point of Sale partnership, Peloton is officially launching its highly anticipated Bill Pay by Card feature powered by Visa. This means you can now pay any local or international supplier using your business credit card, even when they don't accept cards, preserving your liquid working capital for up to 55 days while earning massive rewards. So visit the website today to simulate your exact overhead savings. We're going to take a quick break now. Please don't go anywhere because when we return, we'll explore how smart payment solutions can help fuel business growth. Stay with us.
Hey, you think you know UPS? Yeah, that's us. Everybody knows that. You know what you didn't know? This. Okay, try to keep up. Ocean, us. Ground, rail, air, so us. Guess who? Us. Customs cleared, borders cleared, done. Us. You still with me? Wait for it. Boom. Us. Intelligent, automated, fulfillment. Us. Yep. Healthcare too. Digital your thing? Yeah. Well, book it, ship it, track it. You feeling me yet? Yep. That's all us. That's all UPS.
Welcome back to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. Let's jump right back into the conversation with Pat and discover how modern payment systems can become a powerful growth tool for your business. Exploring how do we turn payment systems into a driver of business growth. Tell us, how can modern payment solutions drive business growth?
Well, that is the missing secret sauce for a lot of the solutions. The mantra should not be, "I will beat your fee." Great value is required.
Right.
Price is important, but the first question that a provider should be asking the small business owner is, "What are your payment needs? What do you need?" And that usually comes to discussions. What do your customers need? What does your staff need? What do your suppliers need to be able to pay and receive payment most efficiently from you? Once you have that understanding, you can put a system in place that saves a huge amount of time. So our experience is up to 40% of the administrative time that goes into management. It could be accounting integration or reporting or simply generating insight about what's happening can be removed with a modern, well-configured solution. So saving time is one value driver.
Right.
Another piece is saving money, obviously. So having reasonably priced fees for the size of your business and not layering on unnecessary incremental standing fees is another way that they save money. But that part about empowering the staff and the customer with the best solution can drive revenue growth as well. One of the really fortunate things for me working at Peloton is when I was first interacting with our head of sales, my wife overheard us discussing what's involved in bringing payment solutions to small businesses. My wife was a small business owner for 10 years. She approached me after and said, "I'd like to do that as well."
Right.
So she also joined us selling. And I then get to a firsthand, seat at the process as she brings dozens of small businesses in my local community onto our solution. And I hear about how we can accelerate revenue growth because I'm a customer of many of these small businesses. So the example that really rang true for me is we provided a solution to our local curling club.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, how will payments help a curling club? Because, we're not creating a new offering, a new product. But in fact, we doubled their throughput. And the reason was that many curlers, at my club at least, are a little bit older.
Right.
Their eyesight is not fantastic. And the solution was a much bigger form factor for interaction with the customers. When they come off the ice at the same time, it's a tradition that you would buy a beverage for your opponent, and all of a sudden, twice the volume with the same staff could be done in the same amount of time because they didn't have difficulty seeing the form factor. They didn't have to get out their glasses. They were not looking like this. And so we doubled the throughput of a very simple process by just having the right solution in front of them. And there are all sorts of examples where a better integration to a back-end system speeds up the transaction. More rapid settlement gives cash flow to the small business. The staff are more efficient. They don't have to rekey information. It's integrated. All of that drives more revenue. And then you put it together with the cost savings and the time savings, you can really drive growth for the small business.
Well, thank you so much for sharing such a relevant experience, Pat. And it helps us understand how do we leverage payments as an active growth tool, which helps us utilize smart invoice automation and credit-enabled bill payment options to stretch our corporate working capital, giving us the liquid reserves that are required to fund immediate stock expansion. So thank you for highlighting those great tips, Pat. Finally, let's look at the future of Canadian fintech and digital payments. What payment trends should Canadian SMEs prepare for?
Well, other than, having the best solution for their staff and for their customers, I think that another need that's across the entire industry is that they would like to take advantage of the newest, most innovative payment capabilities as quickly as possible, and they'd like to get access to their funds as quickly as possible. So that's, managing cash flow is king, especially for a small business owner, especially a newly formed small business. And so the things that are coming in the industry that will facilitate that, one of them is open banking. For those not familiar, open banking is the process of allowing fintechs to make seamless connections with a small business's banking relationship so they can facilitate in a secure manner, in an automated manner, access to those funds. That's not been available in Canada. It's just coming now. And so that will allow them to take advantage of some of the leading capabilities for fintechs like Peloton and others. So open banking is going to be very big. It's going to allow them to continue with the comfortable banking relationship and get the best of the innovation in the industry that's happening around them. Other recent events, ones that are supposed to occur at the end of the year, is real-time rails. So that will accelerate settlement, so they won't have to wait 2, 3, 4 days for their funds to be available. It can happen instantly, which is a bit of a double-edged sword because the faster the funds settle in both directions, the more important it is that you validate it, that the people you're transacting with are who they say they are. Right. So fraud risks are higher, and so it's very important that you're on top of what we discussed earlier, that you do a thorough job of understanding what normal looks like for your business, and you have a very secure environment behind you. But real-time rails for accelerated settlement is important. Open banking to allow you to leverage your banking relationships, but add innovation around it. And one which is a little bit further down the road is the advent of stablecoins. So for those unfamiliar, stablecoins allow you to use traditional currencies, but take advantage of the technology infrastructure of the blockchain so that you can do transactions with fewer counterparties more quickly and more cost effectively.
Right.
And that is especially important if you're working with suppliers or customers in other currencies, because the fees, especially small business fees, pay for foreign exchange, for wires, and for delays in settlement are extensive and very costly. And so if you can take advantage of that capability, it can save you a lot of funds. Like we're talking about thousands of dollars a month can be saved for a small business owner.
Right.
It's not untypical when we are bringing some of these capabilities to small businesses. Many of our small businesses are 40, 50, 60 employees, somewhere between $3 and $10 million in revenue. But we can save them sometimes up to $25,000 a year in fees and accelerated cash flow. For a business that size, that funds the Christmas party.
Absolutely.
That funds rewarding exceptional performance by your best employees, which helps you retain your best employees, which also feeds into your growth. So it's not insignificant, the amount of impact it can have on the business. And so these changes, I think, are going to bring accelerated access to innovative technology for small businesses and shrink the gap between what large enterprises pay and what small businesses pay. That's my passion about this is I think, Canada has a large portion of small businesses representing, business formation in the country. And I don't want to, just talk about how do we help them survive. I want small businesses to thrive. I want them to drive the growth of the economy, and I want to see them grow into large enterprises. And we have to stop having small businesses subsidize large enterprises. We want to give them great value.
Now, this is a great look at the evolving horizon for Canadian fintech. And you're right. I mean, aligning our corporate back office with integrated fintech platforms ahead of open banking rollout positions, our small business to capture massive cross-border efficiencies. This was a great conversation with you. Thank you so much, Pat, for sharing such great expertise and insights with our audiences. Now, as we wrap up, what advice would you give businesses that are considering a payment systems review?
Well, the first thing I'd say to them is, when was the last time that you had a complete review of your payments needs? If the answer is, what is that? Then you're not getting served properly by your provider. So having someone go over with you, what do my customers need? What do my suppliers need? What does my staff need? What does a perfect payment solution look like? If answering those questions and then fitting the solution to those needs, that's really the starting point. And if you understand that well, then you can evaluate the value proposition that's presented to you and select something that's going to help you grow, save you time, and save you money.
That is an exceptional reminder that simply taking a hard, transparent look at our current merchant statement is the fastest way to discover where our profit is hiding. Thank you so much, Pat, for being on the show with us and for sharing such great insights. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And that was Pat Finerty from Peloton Technologies, a masterclass in uncovering hidden transactional cost leaks, utilizing Visa credit-enabled bill pay to preserve working capital, and understanding how the Rogers POS partnership is redefining merchant processing for Canadian businesses in 2026. Thank you for tuning into the podcast. Please be sure to subscribe and visit CanadianSME.ca for more resources. And to learn more about how we are supporting the ecosystem, please visit Canadian SME Small Business Foundation at smbfoundation.ca. A special shout out to UPS and ADP for their ongoing commitment to empowering small businesses across Canada.